Alright, so now we're going to talk about Chapter 3. We talked about a lot about legal stuff. Now we're going to talk about ethics in general. So the definition of ethics, it's a system of philosophy of conduct and principles. It encompasses a process of determining right from wrong conduct. It provides structure for placing conduct into action.
I think in a basic sense, ethical behavior is quite straightforward and simple. Doing good for others as we do good for ourselves. The last part of that is easy. It comes by common sense nature. We are wired to survive. So that part is relatively easy. The difficult part is the first, doing good for others. And that's not easy. It doesn't come by instinct, especially in societies where competition is valued. So it has to be learned. And it's important to learn because ethics is valued in this profession. When agricultural and other employers are surveyed, they consistently say that trustworthiness is among the most highly valued characteristics they look for in their employees. Well, trust and ethics are joined at the hips. Ethical behavior builds trust, and unethical behavior kills trust. It's as simple as that.
Alright, so ethics you would consider it more of a practice, right? It helps you determine what's right or wrong, provides structure for placing conduct into action. So it's a practice. There's algorithms in place, there's definitions in place to help you make the right decision. So the definition of morals are personal principles acquired from our life experience, whereas ethics are principles that are just in place, known as ethical principles. So our morals are relationships, religion, and culture, and they're not necessarily adequate for resolving complex issues arriving in the clinical setting.
Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines. In this series we're looking at the terminology and jargon of philosophy. In this video we're going to be doubling up for a 3-minute philosophy video talking about ethics versus morality. So, in philosophy, generally, there is not a distinction made between ethics and morality. Philosophers generally, not always, but generally, use these two terms interchangeably. Both of them mean what's good or bad, or talking about right and wrong. Since the people that study ethics, namely philosophers, don't make a distinction between these two terms, there's not a clear, really agreed upon distinction between this terminology. However, other people that don't study this specifically have made a distinction that I'm going to talk about a little bit here. When there is a distinction made, ethics is generally considered standards of good and bad, right or wrong, that are imposed by some outside group, a society or profession, for example. You could have standards in the legal profession that say what lawyers should and should not do based on the standards of their profession. Or business ethics that say what you should or should not do based on what the business community says is right and wrong. You could also have this in a larger context of a society, of a country, or a culture that thinks certain things are right and wrong and imposes those things on you. Morality, on the other hand, is one's own personal sense of right and wrong. It's not imposed by anyone. It's just what you think is good and bad personally. And these two can conflict. So one might live in a society that agrees on a certain code of conduct that you personally disagree with. You might, for example, think that free speech is always going to be right, but live somewhere that people think defaming religious icons, for example, is wrong. The ethics says you should do one thing, what the society imposes says you should do one thing, but the morals, your own personal beliefs about what's right and wrong, say you should do something else. Your ethics and your morality disagree. It is, however, important to note, as I said at the beginning, philosophers are generally talking about what is right or wrong, period, when they're using these terms. They're not talking about what a specific society says, that's something for a sociologist, or what a person thinks, that's something for a psychologist. They're talking about what is right or wrong, period. However, some philosophers do think that all we can say about good and bad is just what societies or groups say. Ethics, if you're using this distinction, is all that there is. This is sometimes called relativism. Others think that all we can say about right and wrong is what we personally feel. Morals is this distinction. Emotivism is one name for that position. However, philosophers rarely use these two terms, ethics and morals, to mean two different concepts. In philosophy, generally, they're going to be interchangeable. Watch this video and more here at Eternity80s.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.
So, values are personal beliefs about truths and worth of thoughts, objects, or behavior. And so, your morals are going to affect your values. A code of conduct for living, so honesty, hard work, truthfulness, sincerity. Individual and healthcare values may change over time as mainstream societal views change. So your values in healthcare might change as society changes as well.
I'm passionate about compassion in healthcare because I believe that compassion is the one thing that we could be focusing on to change the culture within the NHS. So what is compassion? Well, compassion is that feeling that we've all experienced when we know that there is somebody that really cares for us. Compassion comes from that moment when we can see the world through another person's eyes. In healthcare, I believe that it comes from people who love their work and who truly understand why they do what they do.
Compassion is about treating patients with dignity, respect and empathy through your communication skills and through your actions.
It doesn't take very much. It can be a very small gesture that the nurse may do. I've only this morning dealt with a lady that had come about 10 miles on the bus. She was elderly. She would have been entitled probably to hospital transport, but she made her own way here. When she came in, she was cold. So a cup of tea, 2 biscuits, and she was much, much happier. And that little thing really does make a difference.
I think it's particularly powerful when we are feeling vulnerable in physical or psychological pain, or when we are afraid.
My son is bedbound for 6 weeks, so boredom is a big factor. So if he was just left alone in this room, he will deteriorate, become sort of depressed almost. So the nurses come in, cheery faces. They ask quite often, do we need anything? Even the dietitian comes in and they'll try and encourage him to eat by sort of giving him star charts and goals to aim for. So they're trying to encourage him to get better.
The consistent theme is that it is always the smallest things that make the greatest differences.
You hear so many stories nowadays about people being treated as a number, and it's my experience that the professionals that are looking after me really do seem to care about what's happening, what they can do about it, and keeping me informed as to how they're doing it. And once you have that information, that empowers you then to obviously deal with your illness as best way you can.
Not only that, it's all the staff, even the canteen staff, how good they are as well.
Compassion isn't just about talking to the patients, it's making them feel safe in a nice clean environment where they can feel at home.
They've really been so kind to me. They made me comfortable all the time. I might be a bit anxious over something, but they soon sort me out.
So I see compassionate care being delivered when the staff themselves feel cared for, when they feel free to speak openly, free from fear, then they work together as a team and they trust each other. I think that the most valuable gift that we can give each other and to our patients is the gift of time. Time to allow the patient to speak about what matters most to them. And most importantly, time for the staff to listen.
I think you have to show a genuine interest in the patient without being judgmental. Try and find out a little bit more about their lives, their beliefs, their values, in order to empower the patient to be able to make decisions about their rehab and the goals that we're going to set together.
They often divulge all sorts of different things about their worries at home. It might be who's going to walk my dog while my leg's in plaster.